Welcome to part 2 of Torah is Calling. In part 1 we discussed the handing down of the Torah, the meaning of the word Torah, what law meant, and how the idea came about for this study. And so here in part 2, as we start out, this section is entitled Torah Call to Holiness. Adonai our God, blessed be his name, placed upon us a duty to teach the Torah to the world. This is a blessed undertaking. It's the goal of the Hasidim, the Hasidic Jewish community, to bring secular Jews, the Jews by blood only, back to the Torah. And it's a duty of Messianic Judaism not only to bring the Jews to knowledge of the Messiah, Yeshua, and Torah also. So I feel strongly that it's the duty that we're as Messianic Jews, we are a gap, a bridge between the church and Judaism, and the fact that it's our duty to bring the Torah back to a church and the Messiah to the Jews, and that's a dual calling. But in a sense, it's all one because the Torah was meant for all of mankind. We're to bring those Gentile Christians to the Torah, and those who espouse a heresy that the Messiah replaced the Torah, that's not true. This is going to be a labor of love, folks, and sincere teaching and calm debating, not a condemnation of harsh words. And I say, you dirty, rotten, so-and-so, dadgummit, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to tell you if you don't. No, it's not like that. Because the scripture itself already says it to them in better words than we can ever imagine. And we can't go into someone's church and say, black eye for black eye and broken tooth for broken tooth, because that would be, they don't work, and it's not going to work, and it would bring discredit to Yeshua the Messiah, who would never have taught in such terminology or ways, as a matter like that. Now, what I want to talk about now is how the written Torah for us calls for us to be a holy and separate people, and show you how that is through the living Torah, who both shows us and enables us to be holy. For we cannot do this on our own or through the flesh. If you try it in the flesh, it's all mechanical and it's of no meaning. All the rituals will do you no good unless you have God first in your heart. Without that, then it just becomes legalism, and it doesn't work. No one was ever saved through legalism. Turn into the Torah to the book of Vayikra, that's Leviticus, chapter 11. That's a list of things that were made for food and those that were not made for food. These, of course, remain in effect for all time. There are those who claim God changes, and because of a great misinterpretation surrounding the vision of Rav Shimon Kifa, Shimon is Simon, Kifa is Peter. So he's talking about the Apostle Peter when I say that. I'm using his term as he became a master rabbi. And so the term Rav, this is where this term comes from, Rav. I refer to a lot of the apostles as like Rav Timotheus and Rav Shaul, Rav Yochanan. It's because their title is not that we're worshiping them as men, it's just we're reverencing them for the knowledge that they passed on to us in love. The writings of Rav Shaul, people have been pigging out on pig. They think that things have been changed, and it's because of misinterpretation, and that people have been pigging out on pig. Yuck. Look at in Shimon Kipa's vision. Look at the rest of what's in there. Okay, but there's more than just ham hocks in there. There's spiders and all things like that. So why don't you just go ahead and add a few cockroaches on your pizza too while you're at it? A few centipedes and spiders. Eat a fiddleback sandwich there. because all those are in that list. Try to put stink bugs on your BLT next time. Okay, the laws that God gave are healthy dietary laws given by God for our well-being. It's not intended to restrict you and enslave you. It's for our well-being because God created our body. Not as a restrictive yoke. You can see it in black and white. Follow the Torah. God knows our body better than we do because He's the one that made it, folks. These rules are for our spiritual well-being. All of the 613 commandments, look in verse 45. For I am Adonai, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. Be holy, because I am holy. For everything that is manifested in this material and physical world, there's a spiritual representation as well. The Holy One, blessed be He, as He brought down His wrath on the Pharaoh Ramses, if that was Ramses. I have other theories on that, but we won't, rabbit trails won't take you through all that at this point. It could have been Amenhotep, but that's something else that we'll deal with in a later study. He also said, I will judge the gods of Egypt. These gods of Egypt, Ra, Sakhmut, Anubis, Osiris, Horus, Mut, and many others are nothing more than fallen angels whom God judged at that time and may have even cast them into the abyss along with others that had been imprisoned in the days of Noah, because it seems that after Exodus those cults begin to slowly wane. They lose their power. So as you see that in keeping God's physical laws regarding the flesh, this has a spiritual aspect to it. For this simple reason that if you honor God by keeping His precepts, He in turn He'll honor you. This is not a legalistic way of a works for salvation. This is not legalism here, as a friend of mine once quoted. We're not legalistic around here. That's through God's Messiah Yeshua, by pure faith and by believing in God, taking God at His word, as did Abraham Avinu. For he said, it says, Abraham believed in God, and it was accounted unto him as righteousness. Now, how is a follower of the Torah to be holy? The best source for that, of course, is the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach. Rebbe is a master rabbi. It's a Hasidic term that you'll find me using always. Not always, but a lot. I could quote other rabbis, but none of them come close to Yeshua the Messiah. That's the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach, the Rabbi King, Teacher King Messiah. Describing what it really means to be a Torah-observant Jew or even a Gentile follower of the Messiah, one who has not become a righteous convert. Look into the Messianic writings to the book of Matthew, chapter 5, starting in verse 2. And he began to speak. This is what he taught them. How blessed are the poor in spirit, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. How blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. How blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. How blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. How blessed are those who show mercy, for they will be shown mercy. How blessed are those who make peace, for they will be called the sons of God. How blessed are those who are persecuted because they pursue righteousness, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. How blessed are you when people insult you and persecute you and tell all kinds of vicious lies about you because you follow me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. They persecuted the prophets before you in the same way. Well, just think about it, folks. What we have here listed at the very heart of what it means for you to really put the Torah into practice. You remember earlier when I was quoting from the Mishnah, from the Dicta of the Fathers, the Pirkei Avot? Well, in there is a saying in there by the rabbis that a teacher should raise up many disciples and place a fence around the Torah. Remember? This means that another more stringent regulation is established so that one is sure not to violate of a specific commandment because of the fence is higher than what it is protecting. It's all fine and wonderful, and it's resulted in outstanding outstanding works of rabbinic Judaism like the Mishnah. However, when it becomes bad is when it is placed in the same role as the actual scripture on which it comments. When it's set up as a stumbling block. You can see this played out as the rabbis from other traditions within Judaism are arguing with the Messiah over these matters like washing hands and the debate over what constituted work on Shabbos, the Sabbath. Now, mission does have its proper place. These chapters are basically these chapters I just discussed up here are basically the Mishnah of the Messiah Yeshua. His Sermon on the Mount, that's his Mishnah. That's his Mishnah to us. Because he is laying down definite fences around the Torah, he proclaims that he is one to give a more imperfect interpretation of the Torah. And that's what we know one of the signs of the Messiah is, that he will accomplish this. And he did accomplish and will when he returns the second time. More perfect interpretation of the Torah than what the people of Israel had been receiving up to that time. They had an interpretation, but he had a greater interpretation, a teaching from the Torah that astonished them. Because we teach in other men's names, he taught with his own authority and his own power, and that's why people are amazed. Here he tells us what we must live up to beyond the standards of the Pharisees. What? Wow! I mean, Pharisees. I mean, this is the highest standard of what even Rav Shaul said. I'm of the most strictest order of our faith, and these is like the Hasidic Jews of today are the Pharisees of the past. Okay, the highest standards in Judaism. Yeshua teaches that we should not hate, because hate leads to murder, and murder is, of course, against the Torah. He teaches against no-fault divorce, to let God be the avenger. Why would he teach that? Because it's acts of revenge that lead to blood feuds and civil war. Blessed Messiah teaches not only to love your neighbor as yourself, but your enemies also. What a standard. What a calling. The Messiah calls on us to be holy in the same way as the Lord said in the Torah by saying, therefore be perfect just as your Father in heaven is perfect. It's easy to love someone who's being nice to us, but try go loving Saddam Hussein. But guess what? The Lord would have hoped that Saddam would have repented before the Iraqis hung him. Bin Laden, Hitler, all these people, God is willing that no one should perish, not even these people. He counts evil all as sin is sin in the eyes of God, no matter who commits it. He's not a respecter of persons. Let's all pray to be able to meet through Yeshua God's call to holiness. Also, we're not just to put it on so it will look good in public, down at the synagogue or at work. A call to holiness does not include self-aggrandizement. You don't set yourself up like Yeshua said. Talking about certain people, he said they make their seat long and their tefillin broad, the seat on their garment long. And Rabbi Bruce Booker taught us in a seminar that the rabbis or the Pharisees who were doing this, what they would do, they would have their robes had long fringes on them, and their phylacteries, or the tefillin, that's the phylacteries that you wear on your head when you rise in the morning and pray, if you're so inclined. They would make huge ones and wear them all day and go outside in public at the marketplace and daven, or to pray in the traditional Jewish way, where you'll see the men at the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. They have the Sidurs, and they're sitting there like this and they're praying. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe. Okay, but these guys were doing it just to self-aggrandize themselves, and that's a mistake. A call to holiness does not include this kind of self-aggrandizement, and that's what we refer to as abusing the crown of Torah.